Hello everyone, and welcome to another very beautiful chess game of Paul Morphy. And in this chess game, Paul Morphy has the white pieces and his opponent is a player named Bottin. Not a well-known player. And in the database, there is zero information about Bottin. So Paul Morphy's opponent is not a famous player. And this game was played in 1858 in Paris. And Paul Morphy starts the game with playing e4, e5. And normally Paul Morphy plays knight to f3, and then most of the time bishop to c4, the Italian opening. But this time Paul Morphy played c3, a very rarely seen opening by Paul Morphy. And this move is also known as the Macleod attack, the Lopez opening. But please don't confuse this opening with the real Lopez opening. So this is a different move. And we see this move very rarely in the history of chess. So Paul Morphy strangely played c3, and Bottin played knight to f6, d4, knight takes on e4, d takes on e5, bishop to c5. And Bottin is attacking on f2 and how to defend. Maybe knight to h3, or maybe bishop to e3. What would you do in this position? Well, Paul Morphy is not defending the pawn, and Paul Morphy played queen to g4, leaving on f2, and also Paul Morphy is attacking on g7, but Bottin captures the pawn. Knight takes on f2, and the rook goes to nowhere. And also Bottin is attacking the queen. But Paul Morphy played queen takes on g7. Also Paul Morphy is attacking the rook. So first Bottin is saving the rook, rook to f8. But then bishop to g5, attacking the queen. f6, e takes on f6, d5. And in this very clunky, desperate position, Black wants to develop his bishop, and also Black needs to move his queen to somewhere else. So the queen was trapped in this position. So we have d5, opening the space for the queen. We have bishop to e2, and we have bishop to g4, defending on bishop to h5. And if knight takes on h1, we have bishop to h5, that's check. And how to defend? The only defense is rook to f7, this is the only move. And then queen takes rook, that's checkmate. That's why Paul Morphy played bishop to e2. So bishop takes bishop, knight takes on g4, f7, check. A very important move by Paul Morphy. Rook takes on f7, and then queen takes on f7. King takes queen, and then bishop takes on d8. But then knight to f2 again, attacking the rook. And the rook goes to nowhere. So Paul Morphy played bishop to h4. So this time Paul Morphy is tempting Black to capture the rook. And Bottin, of course, captures the rook. Knight takes on h1. And materially everything is equal, but this knight on h1 goes to nowhere. Paul Morphy is trapping the knight. So the bishop on h4 is holding the escape square for the knight. We have knight to f3, knight to c6, knight from b to d2, rook to g8, attacking on g2. Paul Morphy is defending the pawn with the king. d4, c takes on d4, knight takes, bishop takes on d4. Paul Morphy played knight to f3, attacking the bishop, bishop to b6, rook to e1. Black played h6, and then Paul Morphy played rook to e7, check, king to f8, knight to e5, rook to g7. For some reason, Black wants to exchange the rooks and black wants to simplify the game. And Paul Morphy is accepting the offer. But first, Paul Morphy played knight to d7, check, king to g8, and then rook takes rook. King takes on g7 and then knight takes on b6. A takes on b6. A Bottin captures the knight with the a pawn. And where is the knight going? Well, Paul Morphy is trapping the knight, so this is all over for black. But a Bottin is not resigning, so Paul Morphy played g4, king to g6, and then king to g2. Bottin played h5, h3, and after Paul Morphy played h3, black resigned. So the possible continuation is h takes on g4, pawn takes pawn, and c6, some random move, and then king takes on h1. And this position is completely dead for black. So white has the bishop, and black has no hope in this position. An interesting game by Paul Morphy. Paul Morphy started the game with a very rarely seen opening, the Macleod attack, and then managed to crush his opponent easily. So a Bottin resigned at move 29. And I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. And I hope to see you next time. Take care.